Okay. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I hope you guys are having a good start to your week. I am excited to talk to you guys about words and how words matter. And man, I could do probably a series on this because outside of like what we talk about as it relates to like words that we use when we're trying to help people to see what we're doing and when we're offering plexus to people, right? Because words matter in every aspect of your life, right? Words mean things. And so it's just really important to take a look at some of the things that you may be doing that may or may not be working for you, which is why this really kind of comes together very well because I wanted to do a messaging challenge, which I started today. So please, 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 if you do not look at my Tuesday tip, it's a little bit lengthy because I'm basically breaking down. It's a messaging 101 Tuesday tip, but I'm breaking down the whole idea of messaging and what that means in your business and why there's so much fear around that. And then that will help you to go right into the messaging challenge that I started today. I had a post that I put out, I think maybe 1 or 2 o'clock this afternoon. And so I'll be doing that posting challenge through Friday. Now, that really dovetails really well with the challenge that I was already planning to do next week for us to end October strong and start November strong as well, because we have a Plexus book club. Y'all know Plexus does a book club every month, right? And Plexus started doing a book club years after Team Made for More was doing book clubs. Okay. So that's the reason why I never got rid of our book club, because there was so much value that I feel like we gain as a community by reading books, actually reading the book together and having a discussion about it. Whereas the book club that Plexus does, a lot of times people may not buy the book, or they may buy the book after the fact, and they're hopping on and they're just ingesting and taking in, digesting information that the author is giving, which is great because they actually have the authors on the call, right? Whereas it's little old me talking to y'all about the books, and then we have some other team leaders that facilitate every now and then. And so it is a different type of book club, but they're both very valuable in my mind. And so because their book club is once a month, and because Plexus's book club is on a Saturday, I know that a lot of people either forget to hop on, or they just don't even think, they just don't hop on if they don't have time to hop on. So when I saw what their book club was for this month, I immediately picked up the book, which came into my mailbox literally, I think Saturday or Sunday, from Amazon. And it is called Exactly What to Say. Okay. And the reason why I picked up the book, I don't really order every single book club book. I kind of have in the past probably 4 to 6 months, but they've been doing it several years, and I did not buy every book because y'all is anybody like me where they literally have 45, 50 books at a time in your queue, in your Amazon queue, and you have at least 6 or 7 books that you probably buy a month that you should be reading, and you don't. Yeah, this is my problem, that and my addiction to planners. And so it's a serious, serious problem, y'all. And so there's not enough hours in the day for me to ever read every single book that I've ever read for myself, or ever bought for myself. But this one was very attractive to me because if you look at it, it is super, super tiny. Okay. So the reason why I wanted to talk about this book, and then we're going to do a challenge on it next week, is because for whatever reason, I've always wondered, I wonder if I'm saying some things to people that are helping to get people off the fence faster or make a decision faster than some other people that I'm training to do the same thing. Have you ever wondered that? Like, how come this person, like, we're both being trained by the same people, we're both taking in the same information, but for whatever reason, they're getting results that I'm not getting. And so I often have wondered for myself, just randomly, I wonder if I'm saying some things that, in the course of, the conversation, I'm saying some things differently. And so that's the reason why I bought this book. And guess what happened? I bought the book and I literally opened up maybe, the first 4 or 5 pages. And I was like, well, I'll be doggone. Half of the stuff that I say is in this book. Okay. I just didn't even know what I was saying was actually moving the needle. Like, I was just like, oh, this is just how people talk. Right. But apparently that's not how all people talk. Okay. So I am going to give you the Cliff Notes version tonight. I do encourage you to get on the book club call with the author, but because I know people will sleep since tonight, hearing this tonight, and you may not get on the Saturday call, which is totally fine, you at least will know, man, this is an impactful book. It will take you literally an hour or so to read this book, y'all. It's 150 pages, but it's a super small book and easy read. And I'm a slow reader, so if I can read this book in an hour and a half, anybody can. So I highly encourage you to get it, especially if you feel like, man, I feel like I could do better with how I'm like, what my conversations are like with the people I'm talking to about Plexus. So this book, it talks about the very first page in this book. It says the worst time to think about the thing you are going to say is in the moment you're saying it. Big problem, right? Because how many of us, we're literally just like, oh, you're just on the cuff, on the fly, just like saying whatever comes to mind. You're not thinking ahead of time of what you're going to say to someone, whether you're on the phone with them or whether you're messaging them. So how many times do you think that may not be working out well for you, right? Probably for a lot of you, it may not be working the way you want it to. And so this book completely prepares you for nearly every known eventuality and provides you with a fair advantage in almost every conversation. By the way, has anybody already read this book? I'm just curious. Has anybody already read the book? Oh, it's called Exactly What to Say. I know it's a lot of other stuff on it, Mimi, but it's basically Exactly What to Say. This is what it looks like on Amazon. Exactly What to Say. Okay. So he talks about this realization that he had, where he started to get fascinated with the difference that a subtle change of words can make to the outcome of a whole conversation. And it fueled this author, his name is Phil Jones, to do this study. Oh, you're welcome, Mimi. To do this study where he studied these triggers, right, that cause a shift in a person's belief system. Okay. And so these magic words that he talks about in this book, and I'm going to give you, I can't give you all of them tonight because I can't share everything that's in the book tonight because we don't have enough time, but I'm going to share the ones that I know I have used for years and years that I didn't know were magic words, right? But apparently they are. But these magic words are sets of words that talk straight to the, guess what? This is all going to tie into everything I always talk about. These magic words, they tie and they talk straight to the subconscious brain. Ding, 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 ding. So guess what, y'all? What do we say? Your subconscious brain is what controls everything, right? Your subconscious thinking, everything that all the conscious thinking that you're doing, that's not running the show. What's really running the show is your subconscious brain. And so these magic set of words he studied, and he has realized that they talk straight to the subconscious brain. And the subconscious brain is a powerful tool in decision making because it's pre-programmed through our conditioning to make decisions without overanalyzing them. And so he says it works a little like a computer. Our subconscious brain, it only has yes and no outputs, and it can never land on a maybe, right? It is a strong and decisive, and it moves quickly, okay? So what we are trying to do, okay, so did you see how that benefits you in your business? If you're trying to get people to make a decision, then guess what you have to do? You have to tap into their subconscious brain, right? Now, before I move forward, I want to get all of the head trash that some of you have going on right now, because some of you are like, well, this kind of seems like manipulation. Like, this, I don't know if I want to do all this. And I've got to speak to that because manipulation, and trust me, I know of very manipulative people. They actually are in my family and they're not the best folks, okay? Hope they never see this video, but they might. When I think of manipulation is when you are trying to persuade somebody to do something that only what benefits you, okay? So this is not manipulation. When you're trying to get people to make a decision, to be decisive about what they want to do, okay, which I'll give you an example in just a minute with, if you watch my Tuesday tip, I told you guys I had a phone call today with a prospect, a lady that I started talking to 2 years ago. Well, I actually did sign her up today. And so thank goodness she finally decided to give it a try because she now is a worse position health-wise than she was when I first started talking to her 2 years ago. So hopefully and prayerfully, she will stick with the products and she's going to see a huge transformation in her health. So I want you to really get out of your head this idea that is this manipulation, because just because you're learning how to influence people more, John Maxwell says leadership is influence. It's nothing more than that, and it's nothing less than that. And so if you want to lead people in every aspect of your life, you have to understand how to influence people, right? That's what this is. You're trying to influence someone's decision, whether it's yes or no, right? Because most of the time, guess where we get stuck with people? Them being a maybe. Do y'all see what I'm saying? So that's really the benefit of this book, okay? So one of the first things that he says, this is the very first magic set of words that he uses. So I'm just going to read to you guys a set of words, and then I'll break each one down, the ones that we can go over tonight. I'm not sure if it's for you, but. Does anybody ever use that term? I have taught that over and over. I'm not sure if it's for you, but. Why do you think, I just want one person to popcorn out. Why do you think that's such a powerful phrase? I'm not sure if it's for you, but someone quickly.
I think it allows people. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Renee.
I was going to say it allows people an out, but it also, you're not directly saying to them it is for you, and you let them, they can decide, but they also feel like, well, why is it not for me? Like you're implying that it's almost creating this FOMO for them to make the decision, but it also gives them an out. So it's like a two-way.
Yeah, very great explanation of that, Renee. He actually didn't speak to the FOMO part of it because he's not a woman, probably. He doesn't realize how much women have FOMO. But yes, it does speak to both of those things. The one thing he did mention in the book was that it causes the listener's subconscious brain to hear there's no pressure here. So it's a very disarming statement, okay? Because you're basically giving the person an out right in the beginning of your conversation with them, right? The very beginning of your message, you're basically saying, look here, it may or may not be for you, and that's okay, right? But ... whatever else you're going to say, okay? So they wonder, so in a way he does say this, Renee, because he says they wonder what it is, and that spikes their curiosity. So he didn't say use the formal term FOMO, but it's exactly what Renee's saying. It creates this curiosity that actually hooks them, right? So it's kind of like reverse psychology, right? But for me, when I started using this term, when I started working this business years ago, I really wanted people to look at me as someone who was very relatable, because I didn't want to feel salesy doing this, right? That was something I was vehemently against. And so because of that, that was just a term that I started using, because I was like, I don't know if this is going to be a good fit for you. I use good fit. I don't know if this is a fit for you, but would you be open to take, which that's another word. Would you be open? Are you open? That's another one. We'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, so I'm not sure if it's for you, but okay. So I want to read this piece because the example is amazing, y'all. So he says, the real magic, though, is delivered through the final three-letter word of the sequence, a word that typically should be avoided in all conversations. How many of you know that using the word but in normal conversations is a no-no, right? But in this particular phrase, it actually is a magic word. It says, imagine receiving a comment from your employer that started with the words, you know that you're a really valuable member of the team. We love everything that you do here, but some things need to change. What's the only part that you would remember, y'all? You'd only remember the but. Or things need to change, right? But you would not remember anything that was said before the word but. Does that make sense? That's the point. You would not remember anything else before the word but. And so the word but negates everything that was said prior. So when you say to somebody, I'm not sure if it's for you, but what that little voice inside of your listener's head hears is you might want to look at this. Do y'all see what I'm saying? It literally negates what you just said. It may not be for you, but what negates it may not be for you. And so now they're thinking, oh, well, this probably is for you. Do you see how that works? So really, really great example. Wanted to share that. Okay. So this rejection-free approach creates a simple outcome. Okay. Rejection free is what you want to remember with this particular phrase. I don't know if it's for you, but it's rejection free, right? They don't feel like they are going to reject you either way because you've already put out there that it probably could not be a fit for them, 50-50 chance. And guess what? You are not going to feel as much of a rejection by it because you've put it out there that is a possibility that it's not for them. Do you see how it's almost conditioning your own brain? Do you see how that works? Fascinating information. Okay. So the next one is open-minded, just happens to be number 2. Okay. Remember, I just said, are you open? So just about everybody in the world thinks of themselves as meeting this criteria, right? Everybody wants to think what, y'all? That they're open-minded. No one wants to walk around being like, I'm closed. I'm closed off. I mean, nobody walks around like that, y'all. Everybody wants to say, oh yeah, I'm open. I'm open-minded. Of course I'm open-minded, you know? And so when the alternative is being considered closed-minded, this perception of choice is almost guaranteed to steer others towards your idea. Does that make sense? So knowing that people like to see themselves as open-minded, you can easily give yourself a fair advantage within your conversation. So what he says is this preface shifts you from having a 50-50 odds of them agreeing with you to odds of 90-10 in your favor, because everybody wants to be open-minded. It's one of the first things that I ever said to Raya. And the only reason why I use Raya as an example for so long is because I had to prospect her for so long, y'all. I mean, 4 years, it was a long time, okay? And with her, one of the first things that I said to her to get her on the phone, just for me to invite her to take a look at Plexus, meaning the business opportunity, was I said, would you be open? I think I said that to Fainetta as well. I was like, would you be open to giving me 15-20 minutes of your time? I want to share with you what I'm doing, or I want to share with you the type of people that I'm looking for. I think that's what I said to Fainetta, because I really was looking for referrals with Fainetta. Okay. I was asking her for referrals because she was a close family friend. And so some of the examples that he gives is, he says, how open-minded would you be about trying this as an alternative? Would you be open-minded about giving this a chance? How open-minded are you about increasing your monthly income? So he gives these examples in the book, right? So you could either say, are you open to, or how open-minded are you? I really like how open-minded are you, because it literally does switch the brain to think, I don't want to be closed-minded, so I guess I am open-minded, right? I mean, it immediately triggers a person to say, yes, I'm open to it because I don't want to be closed, right? And so he says, at least this makes them feel obligated to do what? To explore the possibility, right? It makes them feel like, I got to at least take a look at it. They still might say no, but guess what? Even if they say no, exactly with Raya that I did 4 years ago, or 4 years when I started prospecting her, it planted what? The seed. It planted the seed, okay? The next one, I'm going to skip over a few of them because I can't go over everything tonight. The next one I think is really good is, when would be a good time? I say this all the time. When would be a good time? Okay. This simple set of words helps us overcome one of the biggest challenges you face when trying to get people to take a serious look at what you're doing. Okay. And so one of the biggest reasons your ideas fail to get heard is that others tell you what? What do most people tell you? I don't have time, right? I'm too busy. I don't have time. And so if they don't have time to consider it, then you're dead in the water. I mean, you're not going to get anywhere, right? If all they can tell you is, I don't have time, right? But then you shift it, because when would it be a good time to, guess what you're doing? You're prompting the other person to subconsciously, again, subconscious brain, you're tapping into that, to subconsciously assume that there will be a good time and that no is not an option. I do this constantly. I did it with the lady I signed up today. I just messaged when she said, she's like had a 1 sentence like that she responded back to me after I voice clipped her after 2 years of having not talked to her, because she talked to me about Plexus 2 years ago. I asked me about Plexus 2 years ago. She never ordered. So I just randomly messaged her last Friday, and she messaged me back and she said, I need to get my body or my health in order, something like that. Just, it was a one-liner. And so I messaged her back immediately and I said, when would be a good time for us to chat? But I get very specific. I say, would tomorrow work? And it was the weekend. So, and I try not to do Plexus stuff on the weekend, or not like conversations and stuff. I do behind the scenes work. And so I said, I threw out some dates to her. So it's not just okay to say when would be a good time. You need to give a specific, you need to throw out some specific times, but give them choices. And we'll talk about that too. That's part of kind of mastering these magic words and phrases, is you want to give people choices. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. This says, and these are some examples that he gave. When would be a good time for you to take a look at this? When would be a good time to get started? When would be a good time to chat next? Whatever that is. In all of these scenarios, please be certain that when you gain a reply, this is exactly what I just said to y'all, you work to schedule the precise next point of contact in order to keep control of the conversation in your hands. Y'all, this is your business. So for you to say, oh, tell me when would be a good time, and just leave it open-ended, well, hell, you may never hear back from them. You see what I'm saying? So you have to, I know, I'm sorry I said hell. Karen's like, what are you doing wrong? You have to make the decision, right, that you're going to throw out your own personal dates, your own personal times, and see if that works for them, right? So get that volleyball of conversation going back and forth, okay? And so this is another good point here. It says, when you do get around to following up or speaking again at the agreed time, this is a really good point, y'all, please do not ask them what they thought about what you asked them to look at. Some of you probably do that. Do not ask them what they thought. What he is instead asking you to do is, and this, I don't say this, I'll tell you what I say that works pretty well. He said to say, so what do you like about it? So again, it's you're putting the words and you're putting their mind into the affirmative, right? Into the positive. What did you like about it, right? I do ask that question about reset. Like when someone finishes reset, I ask people that question when I send them a microbiome video or triplex video or whatever. I will ask them that question. But when I'm on the phone with someone, just like I was today, and I signed up this lady, I literally asked her, after we talked about all of her litany of health issues, she talked to me about her work schedule and the different medications she's on, this is that and the other. And then I shared with her what her options were, which we'll get to that too in this book. I then just said, so do you want to give it a go? Do you want to do it? I mean, it's just very clear. Like, do you want to get started? I can set you up on the phone right now. It takes 5 minutes. And so she was, okay. So you don't want to ask them, what they thought about what you asked them to look at. You just want to, basically, you're assuming the sale, okay? And the reason why I think he didn't say it like that is because in every scenario for this book that he's writing about is not necessarily someone who may be selling something, like a particular product like we are. Some people are doing other things in business. Okay, the next one is, I'm guessing you haven't gotten around to. Okay, this is a really powerful phrase that probably a lot of you don't even think to use. I'm guessing you haven't gotten around to. I do that a lot with the 50 billion people that I follow up with for years and years and years and years and years. Clearly, I follow with a lot of people who take years to make decisions, because guess what it does? It says, sticking to the theme of following up with people, he said he thought he'd share some words that you can use in those scenarios in which you are fearful of contacting the other person because you think they have not done the thing you would like them to do. So how many of you message people, they say they're going to do something, they say they're going to talk to their husband, they say they're going to look at the article you sent them, they say they're going to accept the invite for Journey to Health and Happiness, they say they're going to make their list for their launch event, all the things they say they're going to do, and you don't ever hear from them again. So they act all excited when they're talking to you, then there's no follow through on their part. So you have to kind of like, you feel like you're chasing them. You're not. It's just proper follow up. You're following up with them and you're fearful of following up because, again, you think that they have not done the thing that you would like for them to do. And he said, the times when you have sent over some details that they said that they needed to consult with someone else about, and now you need to make contact to take the next step. He said, open the conversation by allowing the person to save face. This allows the person to save face when you say, I'm guessing you haven't gotten around to, okay? But you're also preventing them from using any of the excuses you think they might use, right? If you're putting the excuse out there that they haven't done the thing yet, then they're not going to have to even say that, right? They're not going to have to expound on it, right? Because you've already put it out there. So this leaves them with nowhere to go in the conversation other than where you would like them to go, which is what? Where would you like them to go in the conversation? Where they commit to actually doing the thing they said they were going to do, right? Whether it's watch the video, talk to their husband, sign up, whatever, get their finances or whatever it is. At that point, they're left to do nothing else but what you've asked for them to do. And so the reason they can't use the excuse is because you have been bold enough to start the conversation in a way that suggests that they were about to use the very excuse that they had prepared, right? So it's almost like an objection block, like you're putting it in front of them before they can even say it. Does that make sense? And so then he says, again, this phrase, I'm guessing you haven't gotten around to, and he gives a couple examples. I guess you haven't gotten around to looking over the documents yet. I guess you haven't gotten around to setting a date yet for your launch event, whatever that is. Okay. Insert whatever example that would be, where it would relate to Plexus. But by pushing the negative scenario, right? You're pushing for the negative scenario by saying, I guess you haven't gotten around to it, or I'm assuming you haven't gotten around to it. You get people to rise to the positive, right? So you're pushing for the negative scenario, and they then will rise to the positive or tell you how they're going to fix the thing they said they were going to do. This is really, really important, because at the end of the day, psychologists have studied this for years. Most people are people of their word. And guess what? They feel pretty bad when they are called out for it, right? People don't want to be flaky. People are flaky as all get out. We know that, right? But people don't want to be flaky. And so when you put it out there, is anybody feeling what I'm saying? I feel like I'm talking to I know y'all aren't supposed to be saying anything, but is anybody resonating with, this is just such great, valuable information that I think if you're intentional about using these phrases, it can really make a difference in your business. Anybody have anything they want to share?
Yeah, Robin, this is Krista. I think that a lot of what you're giving is just this idea of disarming people from being defensive and from being feeling like they're caught off guard or having an answer. You know what I mean? It's really like diffusing any fears, concerns, and just really kind of making it okay to say, hey, I just want to have a conversation with you.
So good. I love the way you put that, Krista. But also, I think it's important for you to point out something that most people probably deal with, including you, which is it also is helpful for you to not have the fear.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Totally.
It's not just for them. To me, and honest to goodness, I know that this is true, because the reason why I started using these phrases years ago, when I started Plexus, unknowing that this was these were magic words, is because I was trying to not be fearful. I was trying to teach myself how do I get over the hesitation of messaging this person back for the 20th time? You know what I mean? I had to get over that. And so I was it was do or die. Y'all, I quit my job. I had to replace my income. So I was I gotta figure this crap out. I got to, right? And so I know, I believe that too, Deidre. The information, literally, this is genius. I mean, it's so simple, but and you see how just the changing of a couple of phrases and words and how you're talking to people and how you're approaching people, it will completely change your business. I know for a fact that it can, because I know that I've had success using these phrases, unknowing and unconscious of the fact that it was even stuff written in a book somewhere. I just saw this book 2 days ago. So the next one is you have 3 options. Okay. This is one that I did learn from somebody in Plexus, I'm sure, because I've never taken a sales class, so I don't know anything about sales, but it does make total common sense once you hear about it. So it says people hate to feel manipulated and nearly always want to feel like they've made the final decision. So when someone needs help deciding, using these words can help narrow their gaze, reduce their choices, and make it easier for them to pick. Okay. So you do not, that's why you don't send people to your website, y'all. You cannot do that, because guess what? They're going to go to experience Plexus or shop Plexus or join Plexus or whatever the thing is that you have them click on. And what are they going to see? Not only are they going to have a health quiz, they're oh, I don't know what to do here. I can only pick one thing. I have 5 different issues, and they can only pick the first one. They only pick one on the first question. So they don't even need to do that. You can ask them the questions, but you're in control of that if you're asking them while you're on your own website. Does that make sense? Then they go, what's the next page after the quiz? A billion welcome packs. I mean, they will get decision fatigue so fast, it's not even funny. You cannot have them experience decision fatigue, because if they experience decision fatigue, confused minds stall. So they will just like, no, this is too much. I can't do this. I got too much other stuff to do. So they won't even order. So that's why you have to get them on the phone. You have to help them to see these are the 3 best options for you. This is what most people do, which is another term that I'll talk to you about a little bit later, what most people do. So it says, as I see it, you have 3 options. Help the other person through the decision-making process and allow you to appear impartial in doing so. Okay, so the rhythm of 3 makes for easy listening for the other person. And by leaving your preferred choice until the end, so what should be the preferred choice 95% of the time? The reset and triplex welcome pack, right? That is what we probably should be doing and suggesting 98% of the time, right? And so that is a suggestion that you're going to leave as the 3rd choice, because guess what? He says you easily build the value of that option and load the choices so your preferred outcome stands out as a clear favorite. I did that today and didn't realize it. Y'all, I didn't read any of this stuff until today, by the way, just so you know. So when I did this with this lady today, when I signed her up, that's exactly what I did. I said, okay, you could get the reset for $149 because that's what it is retail. Because I will not sign someone up to get the $995, like the $995 plus the $129 or whatever it is, because that's essentially only $10 cheaper. But then they're expected to have a sub, right? I'm not doing all that. So I offer them the retail amount for reset, or they could do the reset and blah, 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 explain that. But before I got to that, I said, or you could just do triplex. But once I've explained reset to them, y'all, they're like, absolutely. If it's only a $40 difference, I for sure am going to do reset plus triplex welcome pack. Okay. And so that was my last option that I gave to her, and that's what she chose. Okay. Let's see. Okay, the next one is, I bet you're a bit like me. Now, this is one that probably a lot of you don't use, okay? I bet you're a bit like me. It says this set of words is possibly one of his favorites because it can help just about anybody agree to just about anything. It is even more powerful in a conversation with a stranger than it is with somebody you already know. Why do you think it's more powerful in a conversation with a stranger? Anybody want to take a stab at why they think that is? If you don't know the person, go ahead, Krista.
I was just gonna say, you don't know them. So it's like you're kind of guessing in a sense.
Well, you're trying to create a common ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when someone is a stranger, you're trying to make the connection faster, right? Instead of me having to go through, how many kids do you have? Or how long have you been married? Or where are you from? Or where'd you go to high school? Blah, blah, blah. Instead of me having to do all that to try to create the connection, which you can have that conversation. I'm not saying that wouldn't happen, but that may take a little bit longer than if you're talking about this scenario as it relates to plexus, and you're talking about the different things or whatever health issues they have, this, that, and the other. And then you say, I bet you're a bit like me. I bet you're a bit like me, and blah, 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 blah. And I'll give you a couple examples in a minute. So it really is more effective, he says, with strangers because of that, because it creates an instant connection. And with a stranger, you really need an instant connection for you to build like, know, and trust with them, because people aren't going to order supplements from you that they're putting in their bodies if they don't like, know, and trust you, right? I mean, that's just the bottom line. It'd be different if it was the tube of lipstick or if it was a piece of jewelry. It doesn't matter. But with supplements, like, this is very different, y'all. So you are having to create kind of a deeper connection early on, okay? So it says, if you use this preface ahead of a scenario you would like people to believe to be true, expect them to agree with you wholeheartedly, quickly and easily. Prefacing a statement with the magic words, I bet you're a bit like me, it often results in the other person comfortably agreeing with what you're saying, providing that you are reasonable, right? So this serves as a wonderful tool, he says, to help gather evidence to use in building your later recommendations, okay? You can use a set of words to help avoid many common objections by gaining full agreement with something that may otherwise have tried to use, that they may have tried to use as a future excuse, okay? So here are 2 really great examples. I bet you're a bit like me. you enjoy working hard now, knowing that it will pay dividends in the future. Okay. Most people are going to agree with that, right? So guess what that's doing? It's setting you up to have a future argument as to why they need to go ahead and get started with sharing Plexus now, right? Because they don't want to have to wait until, they're 65 to retire, or never retire at all if they have no retirement. You see what I'm saying? Like, so you're wanting them to make a decision now to start building their business or whatever it is. The next example is, I bet you're a bit like me. You're a busy person who's always juggling to get everything done. That is going to create an instant connection, because how many of us think that about ourselves? We all think we're the busiest people in America, right? Each one of us think nobody's busier than me. Okay. And so you slip those kinds of statements into early conversations, he says, while holding eye contact if you're in person, and just watch them nod back at you. That's essentially what you'll see. And he said, when they do, this means that they know that they agree with those concepts. This makes it an awful lot harder for them to tell you they have not got the time to do what you demonstrated could give them the things they said they want. Do y'all see what this does? Okay. So it's just really, really, really smart. Okay. One of the last ones, I think I have a couple more I can go through. The next one is if ... then. Okay. I say this all the time. In our speech patterns, this is fascinating, so I want y'all to really lean into this and listen. Our speech patterns, listening patterns, and internal belief systems are all pre-programmed and hardwired into us throughout our childhood. Does everybody believe that? It's hardwired since we were kids, okay? And so when we were children, our parents would make conditional statements like what? If you don't study hard at school, then you're not going to go to college and get the job you're hoping for, right? If you don't eat all your dinner, then you're not going to get any dessert. If you don't tidy your room, then you're going to be grounded for the weekend. I mean, that's the story of my mom life, okay? I'm saying that currently right now. As soon as I get out of this office at 8:50, I'm going to go in there and be like, Laurel, you are not going to any trick-or-treat gathering tomorrow at church. I don't care if it is at church, if you do not get this room cleaned up, okay? And so when they make these conditional statements, when you were a kid and you heard your parents say these things, what do you think happened? He says, chances are that you believe them. When we were kids and our parents said, if this, then this, did we not believe our parents? So we're hardwired to believe if then statements. Okay. So these statements hold power over our beliefs and our actions. So as a consequence, creating a scenario using the preface if and adding a second scenario with the preface then means that people are highly likely to do what? To believe you. They're going to believe the outcome. So great example. If you decide to give this a try, then I promise you will not be disappointed. All of us can say that. If you give this 90 days, I did use this exact verbiage with the girl I signed up today. I said, I don't say if you try this, because people trying is lying, okay? Trying is lying. I say, if you give this a consistent 90-day usage, if you consistently commit to this for 90 days, I promise you, you will feel better. This is exactly what I said to this lady today that I signed her, the lady I signed up. And so she believed it and she believed it because she should, because it's true. It's not like I'm blowing smoke. Like if someone actually takes these products with fidelity, and that's why I asked them about their hydration. I asked them about their eating habits. I'm like, are you drinking all day, every day? Are you going out and, blowing all of your exercising because you're eating Popeye's chicken on the weekends? I mean, like, what are you doing? Help me to understand what you're doing. I ask all these questions. And so then once they tell me, I can make a definitive statement like that. Do you see what I'm saying? I don't make definitive statements like that to everyone because everybody's not in that position for me to make that statement. But for her, absolutely. I was like, if you give this a consistent 90-day, you commit to this for 90 days, you will feel much better. Okay. So by creating these if-then sandwiches, you can position guaranteed outcomes that are very difficult not to believe. Okay. One of the last ones that I'm going to share with you tonight is don't worry. Okay. I don't say don't worry that much. I always say no worries. Okay. No worries. And I text that a lot because a lot of times people, well, I won't get into details, but basically I don't need to give an example right now because I'm losing time. But at the end of the day, most people when they feel like, oh, I've been stringing this girl along, we'll just use the follow-up, right? Because most of the time, this is when people you're following up with, right? People are on the fence, they're not making a decision. If I'm following up with someone, I don't want them to feel like this decision, my emotions are tied to the decision, because I don't want them to feel pressure. I want them to make an actual decision for themselves, not for me, right? And I want them to feel that lack of pressure so I can feel good about, okay, if they're really trying this, they must really be ready, right? I want it to feel like it's their decision because it needs to be, right? And so what he says he loves about these simple words, don't worry, is the power they have on people who are nervous or apprehensive or showing signs of concern. So that is the term or the verbiage that you would use with someone that you're feeling some tension, you're feeling some hesitation as you're talking to them about plexus. Okay. So he says, when you can see and feel the anxiety in somebody when they are uncertain about what to do next, or perhaps even fearful. Well, using the words, don't worry, it is going to provide instant relief to that person. Okay. The tension is going to literally start pouring out of them as they become more relaxed when you say, no worries, or don't worry, It's particularly useful, he says, in high stress scenarios when confronted with someone who is panicked, or to comfortably put someone at ease. I use this term a lot when I'm talking with people who are getting started with the business too. Have you ever had someone who's getting started with sharing plexus and they're super nervous and they're like, I don't really know what to say. I posted and I have these people liking the post. I don't know. And so you're like, okay, you want to bring that anxiety level down. Okay. Because when someone's new at this, they are scared to death of like, I don't know what to say. What if they ask me what the ingredients are? So you want to bring them at ease. You want to bring that anxiety down. So I say that a lot. Karen's like, that was me. That was probably all of us, right? And so your job is to bring that anxiety level down. And so saying no worries or don't worry is really, really helpful. And so he finishes off one of the examples he gives. He says, don't worry. I felt just the way you feel right now before I got started, or right when I got started, and look at me now, right? I say that a lot because I want people to see the end result, right? It's okay to lean into this fear and overcome this hesitation, because on the other side of that is something really amazing, right? Whether it's pushing through detox, whether it's, building a successful business, whatever that is. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Can I share? You mind if I share? Can I share two more? If you got to hop off, you can. I want to share two more and then I'll be done. Okay. Another one is most people. Okay. That's another term. Most people. It says these two words contain just 10 letters, but they're possibly responsible for more of his negotiating success than any other single strategy that he's employed in his business. Okay. He says indecision is the biggest thing that stands in the way of progress. Do y'all agree with that? Indecision is the biggest thing that stands in the way of progress. And these words can help jump people out of the procrastination phase that they're in and do it quickly. Okay. So it says first, people take great confidence from the fact that people like them have made a decision before them and that decision worked out just fine. Have you ever gone let me get an example. Have you ever done something kind of risky? Do you have any adventurous friends besides Miss Elnita? It's like, whether it's skydiving or whether it's, paddle boarding, anything that's adventurous, going on a roller coaster. And it's like, you're really hesitant until someone that has said, oh, I've gone on that, or I did that, oh, it's fine. Or until that person goes. Like if I'm jumping off a cliff, right? And I'm scared to death to do it, but then my husband does it, I may be less afraid, right? So everything's about passed out. You're brave. Okay. So first, people really do take great confidence in saying, okay, someone has done it before me. Okay. And so using that word, most people, makes people feel less hesitant about the decision, because they're like, oh, okay, most people do this. Most people choose the Reset and Triplex Welcome Pack, right? That's a true statement. And that's the reason why most people will be disarmed if you just use the word most people when you're talking about the welcome pack that you want them to choose, right? And it needs to be a true statement, right? I mean, if most people didn't choose that, then I wouldn't say that, but it just happens to be true. And so then he says, he gives the example when he's on vacation. He was given like an example of some sort of thing that they did. And once he found out that other people did it, or once his kids found out that other people were doing it, then they were okay with doing it, right? And so everybody seemed to think that it was a good idea. Human beings, people, you and I, right? We all like to follow others and trust that there is safety in numbers. We all do. That's the reason why you should really work to build a team of people of like-minded individuals from the same network. Okay, so like if you're in a social organization, you really need to be working to get other people in your social organization to do Plexus with you, because there's power in numbers, there's safety in numbers. It's why if you are the PTA president or you're on the PTA, try to get some of those other PTA moms to do it with you, because other moms in the school will see, okay, she's doing it, Susie's doing it, all these other people in PTA do, okay, I want to do it too. If you're a teacher, same thing with you people at your campus. So there's power and safety in numbers. He says, second, sometimes people need to be told what to do. Okay, people get decision fatigue. We make so many decisions throughout the day. People like to be led to a decision, right? But they like to feel like they're making the decision, which is why you're going to give them 3 options, but you're also going to say, most people choose this, and maybe even give them an explanation as to why. Okay, I did this today when I signed the lady up. I said, well, most people choose blah, which obviously I told them was a reflex, the reset and triplex welcome pack, excuse me. And so they said, but without their permission, he says, second, sometimes people need to be told what to do, but without their permission, it can sound rude. And so how many of you have made the mistake of saying, what I think you should do is, you say, what I think you should do is, you should never say what I think you should do is, okay? Because in most circumstances, if you're not super close with that person, and even if you know the person, like I have people I am super close to, but I am not going to tell them what you need to do is, some people may not take it as offensive, but some people just don't flat out like to be told what to do. Some of us have some like parental trauma still with our parents being so controlling, like legit. And so it's like, I gotta make it my husband's idea, right? I can't make it seem like it's my idea. It's gotta be his idea, right? It's the same thing. And so I'm probably talking so loud, you can probably hear all this. And so you want them to feel like they're making the decision. And so instead of saying what I think you should do is, you say most people, okay? Most people would do what most people do in this situation, or what most people choose is XYZ, okay? And then what they think in their subconscious, they're thinking, okay, I'm most people. So if that's what most people would do, then perhaps this is what I should do. Everybody understand that? Okay. Then finally, the second to last one, love this one. This is probably one that most of you don't say. And that's because most of you don't like to ask a lot of questions. I'm the biggest question asker on the face of the earth. Okay. And that is, what makes you say that? Okay, what makes you say that? That's the magic phrase. Objections are a common part of everyday life, y'all. You are going to get people that are going to tell you no. You're going to get people that choose to quit Plexus. That is just that's just the way this works, right? We face indecision from others in our personal and professional lives, and quite often find ourselves having to accept another person's idea. But these conversations can become confrontational. So to avoid argument, he's saying the majority of people are happy to let go of their goal in favor of an easy life. Y'all, that is real. Most people are happy to let go of their goal in favor of an easy life. And so in order to overcome these objections, what most people would say is that the other person seizes power, and you're obliged to respond to their wishes if you just accept their objection, okay? So let's just say they say, no, I'm not ready right now, or no, whatever, okay? Instead of you just accepting that, why don't you try to uncover, well, what it is that they are really feeling? Because them just giving you a blanket no, you should ask them, well, what makes you say that? Why do you feel that way? I don't say what makes you say that as much. I say more, well, why do you feel that way? Talk to me a little bit more about that. I'm trying to peel back the layers of the onion and unpack what it is they're really saying. Does that make sense? Because them objecting to whatever it is that I'm saying, I really want to know that just for my own edification. Does that make sense? I just want to know for myself personally, not because I'm really trying to at that point convince them otherwise, because that's not my job. I'm not in the job of convincing people they need to get healthier, right? I'm in the business of educating people about what to do to get healthier, but it's not my job to try to convince you. I'm just going to arm you with information, and then you make a decision that's best for you in the moment or the time, the time that you're, whatever season of life you're in. Yeah. And yeah, Corey, you said it. Corey said in the comments, yep. And they really usually don't have a real reason. Okay. So there's a reason why you say this. Okay. So it says success in negotiating is all about maintaining control in a conversation. And the person in control is always the person who is ding, 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 asking the questions. Also didn't know that. I just got question asking from my father, as I did most amazing things I got from my dad. But yes, the person who is in control of the conversation is the person who is asking the questions. By treating every objection you face as nothing more than a question, you can quickly regain control of the conversation by asking a question in return. And so he gives some really great examples here. He says, most people will say their common objections, most people's common objections are, I haven't got the time. It's the wrong time. I want to shop around. I haven't got the money right now, right? Or I need to speak to somebody else before I make a decision about this. So the worst thing that you could do when such an objection is raised is to respond with your counter argument and make statements that disprove their current opinion. You're not in the business of disproving their current opinion, okay? Instead, you tackle each of these common objections effectively by being inquisitive about them and asking a question in the opposite direction. Do y'all understand how that works? So you're trying to help them to uncover, well, what it is that they're really not wanting to do. Why is it really a no right now? Okay. So some really good examples that he gives. He says, the customer says, I need to speak with somebody before I make a decision about this. You say, oh, well, what makes you say that? I mean, that's a fair question. What makes you like, okay. And now some of you may be thinking, oh, well, why wouldn't I just say why, Robin? Why would you not use the word why? Why would you not say why? Like, why do you need
It sounds defensive.
Why sounds like you're challenging them.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Why is a question that is usually received as a judgment? Well, why? Like, if I say, why'd you turn down this street, Derek? He immediately gets defensive. Like, why? Why are you questioning my driving? I know I give a lot of marriage examples, but y'all know we be over here. It's crazy town. Okay. But look here, 20 years in, we're doing good. We're doing good. So the other example he says, really, I don't have, the customer says, really, I don't have all the money right now. And you say, well, what makes you say that? And I know that sounds crazy, but what makes you say that? Why you ain't got the money? Because you were just at the, what's the concert? Mary J. Blige 2 weeks ago. You're not going to say that, but they're going to know where you're going, like the rabbit hole that you're going down, right? So what makes you say that, right? Then the customer says, I'm really not sure I've got the time to fit this in around what I'm doing right now. And so this is a great question. Well, what makes you say that? Why don't you have the time? You're not going to say, why don't you have the time? You're going to ask, what makes you say that? Okay. So I'll finish with this last 2 minutes, only two minutes. And you just spent $300 on those bundles. Exactly. So this shift of control now leaves the other person obligated. This is important, y'all. The shift of control, because you're asking, what makes you say that? And guys, you got to say it in a love. Like, I'm really just asking genuinely, and people who know me well, I genuinely just ask stuff out of curiosity. I'm like, well, what makes you say that? Like, I'm really trying, like, people will see the look on my face if they're in person with me. They're like, Robin is really trying to understand what is going on here. Like, she really wants to physically understand what you're saying. Okay. So the shift of control now leaves the other person obligated to give an answer and fill in the gaps in their previous statement. And just like Corey said, most of the time, they don't even have a legitimate answer, right? It prevents you from making prejudgments. Okay, so it also not only helps them to really unpack why they just told you no or why they objected to what you said, but it helps you to not have any prejudgments, because guess what? You're peeling back the layers of the onion to really understand the real reason why they're saying no. And if you're preventing yourself from making prejudgments or entering into an argument, it allows you to better understand their point of view before recommending a next thought or action. He says, what you are asking them to do is to explain themselves properly, right? This is effective this is just effective communication 101, y'all. You're asking for them to explain themselves properly. So the words, what makes you say that, means they now have to take what? Responsibility and explain what they really mean, okay? You want them to explain what they really mean, which as two adults having a conversation, that's fair. Don't y'all think that's fair? That's fair. It's fair for someone to question me. I want someone to question me on my thoughts, right? And my words, because I need to be able to defend them. If they're going to come out of my mouth, I need to be able to defend my words, right? And so having this explained properly puts you in a position in which you can then help them with their decision, or at least have a greater understanding of why they cannot make the decision at this time. Y'all, that is so good, because guess what? Then you're going to walk away from fewer conversations, feeling confused as to why the person is now saying no. Does that make sense, y'all? So that's the great thing about this. It's a win-win. It helps them and it helps you, right? It's such great, effective communication. And so I hope this was beneficial for y'all. I just was fascinated reading, things that I have done in the past that have helped me to be successful, but now really understanding the psychology behind it and really the way that the brain works and the subconscious mind and what you're doing and the reasoning behind it. It just, for me, it's like done deal. Like, I will train on this every single year as we bring new people in, because this is golden information. So anyway, I love you guys. Thank y'all so much for being willing to stay on a little bit longer. Hopefully, if you have teammates that weren't able to hop on the call, you'll send them the recording. I will get it up bright and early tomorrow. Love you guys. Bye, y'all.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you, Robin.
Bye.